The Football Pod on OTB Sports in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. Check out #TheToughest for more.
Hello there, and you're very welcome along to what is now episode 19 of the Football Pod. If you are one of our loyal contingent who always get the pod on a Tuesday morning, or even give it a listen on a Wednesday morning, I implore you to go to the Off the Ball YouTube channel at 12 o'clock on Wednesday and have a look at the state of the two boys in front of me. Two shook men. I'll be honest, James O'Donoghue, you're doing all right. You've sharpened up pretty well. Look at the state of the wolf, though. Paddy Andrews.
Lads, I didn't come on here to be heckled. Jeez.
but this is the only time I haven't seen you clean shaven.
Paris got the better of me, lads. It was a tough 3 days over there. But no, just getting back into the swing of things today. No.
I'm surprised you weren't at the open top bus parade.
Oh man, let's talk about the football, lads. Come on, I'm annoying me.
Last word on Paris. Did you get a dose of pepper spray?
Didn't. No.
Did you see any of the madness, the chaos?
Yeah, I did. It was mental because we didn't see the pepper spray, but there was obviously issues with tickets and the scanners in the Stade de France, and it was obviously heard since there was kind of fake tickets going around as well. But just the French police, it was a mental situation. Like, surprising that there was no one seriously injured. It was very, very dangerous, and it was just very surprising for such an established stadium. Like, it's one of the biggest stadiums in the world. They've hosted hundreds of these games, massive games, and it was very, very dangerous. There was a bit of a crush. And people are obviously panicking because they thought they were going to miss kickoff. They put the game back 30 minutes. But we got in. I didn't see any other stuff, thank God. And we got in and managed to get to our seats safe enough. But geez, it was ropey enough now.
Yeah. Did you get in on time? Like, did you go in normal kickoff time?
Yeah. But that's like Liverpool fans were there well in advance as well. It was just whatever issues they had with scanning tickets. And then people were panicking. And then obviously there was fake tickets going around as well, and the French police were pretty heavy-handed with the supporters. So look, it was just a dangerous situation, and you're blessed that nothing serious did happen. But
very true. Could you feel the tension, Paddy?
Yeah. People were panicking. Yeah.
But just pepper spray and tear gas aren't going to calm down the crowd. Like, no. I don't know why they thought that was going to solve the problem.
It was people were panicking because they didn't think they'd be able to get into the stadium.
Yeah,
there was a crush and there was gates there as well, and it was just really badly organised. And I didn't think the authorities kind of covered themselves in glory, and I think that's the kind of feedback across the board from a lot of people talking to lads yesterday in the airport and things like that. It was it's a bit mental.
Yeah,
nothing like Croker, lads.
No. It's an ever-evolving situation, obviously. So the latest, as we're recording on Monday night, is that the French authorities have come out blaming Liverpool Football Club, but and their fans and their handling of it, saying that Real Madrid didn't have this issue. But very quickly, I think we've seen the British government come back out and call for a proper investigation of what's going on. So it seems to have been they're doubling down anyway, the French, in terms of how they're calling how it went.
That was their attitude. That was pretty much their attitude on Saturday night as well.
Definitely not the experience of anyone we've had. We've had Conor Moore on Off the Ball talking about his experience being in Paris as well, and I think he got caught up in a bit of it too. So yeah, that was Paris.
The Euros final as well was a nightmare in London. Like the big soccer matches are getting dangerous. Like they're just it doesn't seem like a good vibe at those games. Like.
What? Definitely, and not to be crass or be dismissive here, but we certainly didn't have any issues like that at the Munster Final or the Leinster Final at the weekend, boys.
There was no one at the Munster Final.
14,000 in Killarney, one of the most beautiful days of the year.
That's a sad sight to see, isn't it? 14,000 at a Munster Final. Like, it's a waste of time. That game was a bit of a waste of time. It was just a case of what they were going to win by. Yeah. Nobody cared about the game. It was €40 a ticket as well, which definitely €40 for a stand ticket, so definitely turned people away as well. Like, you think about Killarney for Munster Final, there should be 30,000 in that sunshine. It would have been unreal, but it's just gone. It's boring. It's boring. It was so obvious what was going to happen, and it's just a waste of time.
We called it last week, lads. That was a hard sell, and the Munster Championship without obviously Cork not being as strong as they were traditionally, Kerry were going to steamroll that. So it's very difficult to try and promote that and to get a crowd in for that. And for Kerry, this is the challenge we spoke about last week. Their season really starts now. They've ticked the boxes. They've won a Munster championship, but they will have much bigger tests ahead, and they wouldn't have got anything really out of that Limerick game on Saturday.
I know. And I like that game. It's fair to say it was over before it began. It didn't take very long for the sense of anticipation around Dublin and Kildare to be gone. I was down home in Clare over the weekend and had been in transit. I was getting some takeout sandwiches from a local pub here up the road, and there's a pub connected to a cafe. So as I was waiting on the sandwiches, I said I'd pop into the pub and keep an eye on the Dublin Kildare game. Walked into the pub in Clare. The game wasn't on anywhere. 6 TVs. So I nudged the fellow who runs the place, and he'd be a big GA man. He was watching the Leinster La Rochelle game, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'll stick it on for you in the corner. Let me know how it's going." Walked out after 5 minutes. I was like, "I'm going to go home and watch this, lads. You don't have to put it on any other tellies. It's game over already." So walked home and caught up on the rest of it. That Limerick Kerry game, I guarantee you, I know there's a lot of Limerick pubs, rugby clubs in Limerick. That game wouldn't have been shown on TV either in many pubs in Limerick City, the Munster Final. We're going to lose these games on television. They're not going to be on it anymore, provincial finals. And that's the sorry state of affairs in Gaelic football at the minute.
But even talking to the Kerry crowd who didn't go to the game, or even the crowd who did, they left early, or the crowd who watched on TV turned it off. Like, that's a final. Yeah. There's no final that should be on where it's an absolute obliteration. Like, it should be competitive.
Yeah.
So it's just such a waste. It's just such a waste.
Yeah.
Look, it's an argument for a different day, obviously.
I think so too, because
it's just becoming more and more clear.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, it is. So now Sunday was a slightly different story. Like, we definitely got the emotion and the joy, and I'd say relief a little bit in Galway as Pádraig Joyce finally got over the line in a Connacht final. That was a massive statement for Galway football. They got the job done. We'll review it in depth in a couple of minutes, but impressive in many ways. And then Derry beating Donegal. Paddy, you had the privilege today to watch that game back the day after. And I'm pretty sure you would have missed all the Discord and the chat on Twitter during the game as well. Did you watch it on RTE or did you watch it on BBC? Because I would say that would have shaped your experience.
I watched it on the Beeb, I have to say.
And what was your opinion on the match overall?
Look, it was a cagey game. It wasn't the most. It was exciting in its own way. It wasn't the most free-flowing type of football. The two teams really kind of cancel each other out. We knew how tight this was going to be. Very, like, Donegal win last year by a point. Kerry nick it this year. They are very evenly matched, and it was always going to be a cagey game. But I think Donegal will be kicking themselves. They would feel that they've left that behind. I thought their experience would have actually got them over the line, particularly down the stretch. But to be fair to Derry, it's a brilliant story. It is a brilliant story. For them to win the Ulster Championship from where they were and to do it by beating Tyrone, Monaghan and Donegal, it's incredible from Rory Gallagher and the Derry team. And some of the performances yesterday, the organisation in defence, but Rodgers and Glass coming down the stretch in extra time. Just phenomenal energy. And it was great to see. Like I say, it wasn't probably the most exciting game, but it's a great story for Derry.
I rang you about 45 minutes in, and you obviously watching it back a day later, you were like, Rodgers was man of the match, was he? And I said, just wait for it. I was like, just wait for it. And did he prove it? Did it prove it? Do you think it was a deserved man of the match watching back a day later?
Yeah, I would say so. To kick 3 points, the leadership he showed, the battle he was having with Michael Murphy, he was everything that was good about Derry yesterday. It's harder with Derry because they're such a well-organised team. They don't really have a Clifford type player. It's the team is so functional defensively. They shut down Donegal. But I thought, coming down the stretch, the last 20 minutes, he was outstanding.
Yeah,
it was clever by Derry to leave Rodgers. Like, he had so much ball. Like, he kind of ran the game, even though he's wearing 3. Obviously, he was marking Murphy, but I suppose we didn't really see that ball playing style of his until this weekend. He really brought that to the fore. And now you're thinking he's a serious tool going forward. He's a serious weapon for them. I think he finished with 3
3 points in.
3 from play. Like, that is invaluable in an Ulster Championship match.
And he laid off that ball to glass.
Yes,
which meant that Murphy had to go for goal later on, which I was surprised. I felt like there was time left there, and obviously,
why didn't
obviously,
they chip the point and win the kick out?
Surely somebody's in James or Sean Hurston's ear saying, "Do we have time for kick out?"
Well, Murphy was obviously
it took him ages to kick the free. If he just tipped it over, and then just as he was about to tip it over, usher his whole team forward to pin them in like they've done the press before, they would have had a chance. There must have been 15 of them on the line when he took the shot. It had no chance of going in.
Yeah, Michael Meehan style against Cork, wasn't it?
He put it on the deck, didn't he?
He did. But look, we'll come back to that game in depth, and I suppose the difference in the coverage between BBC, who I think I was flicking between both channels at times, and BBC, it felt like it was the most compelling contest that you'd ever witnessed. And then I think Colin O'Rourke described it as a mind-numbing game / the bore of the century, which it certainly wasn't. There was definitely moments in it, though, that I'd like to pick up with you that I just couldn't get my head around. The fear football was how I put it at times in that second half. The performance of the weekend, in many ways, lads, in my eyes, goes to a footballer who we have wanted to produce this over the last little while. It was Shane Walsh in that Connacht final. Dancing feet. I think he described, I dug up an old Shane Walsh tweet complimenting Paddy Andrews for his dancing feet with a dummy against Keith Higgins. This fella's a different level, Paddy.
Yeah. No, he was top class yesterday. And not just, it was his leadership as well. We would have spoke about him before, obviously, on this pod about kind of decision making and doing the wrong thing at the big moments. But yesterday, there was a real maturity in his play. And I think from Galway as a whole, I thought Finnerty was excellent inside as well. Comer, brilliant for Galway on their transitions as well. But the moments of magic, like Shane Walsh's goal was just top class. The sidestep, he just suckers the defenders in. He just slows everything down, steps inside, and it's a beautiful finish as well. But he was top class yesterday for Galway, and it was a big game for Pádraig Joyce and Galway to win that game. Having beaten Mayo, they needed to make a statement and win the Connacht Championship, and they were full value for it yesterday. And he was to the absolute fore as well.
Donald, you were a sniper in there in the full forward line. Did you have a dummy like that in your arsenal?
The way he has that sidestep?
Yeah.
No, that's the most powerful sidestep I've ever seen. But you know what he has? He has the change of paces. Like he can go kind of 0 to 25%. He can go 25 to 50, 50 to 75. And next thing he can just go boom, 100% out of the blue. And when he gets the ball and he kind of tips it on his toe, he sucks fellas in.
Yeah.
And most fellas then would be pushed onto their weak side and they'd be turned over or they'd be thrown over the line. But you don't know, is he going to go left or is he going to go right? Has he dummy hop? Has he dummy solo? He has so many kind of weapons to pull out of the bag when he sucks a few bodies in. And it just seems to create space for the Comers and the Finnertys then. So I think he is he's playing very well. But still, that's not his big test.
No.
His big test is coming. And it's going to be great to watch.
For both Derry and Galway, Croke Park is up next.
Yeah. Well, Galway have had a lot of games in Croke Park. Like, they even played the Connacht Final there. I mean, they've played their league final there. They've been there to quarterfinals. Like, they'd be comfortable there. And the way they play as well, they should be comfortable there. But when they were breaking against Roscommon got sucked in a bit when they pushed everyone up in attack. Like, against a blanket defense like that, you still need to keep 4 at home just in case you get turned over.
Yeah, you need to have structure.
Yeah, but they didn't. And then the legs of Comer and Walsh just can't defend it.
Very impressive.
There was one time when they called out in the Sunday game where Galway turned Roscommon over and maybe they're on Galway's 45. And by the time they broke, it was 3v3. Comer chipped a point, but he could have easily come for a goal. Yeah. So, like, if you play against that against Galway in Croke Park, they have so much legs, they can do serious damage.
Absolutely. The other game, and we're going to get stuck into it, was Dublin's performance against Kildare. If there were any lingering doubts, and I certainly wasn't one of them after what they did to Meath, the Dubs are back. Like, that was just ruthless stuff on Saturday in Croke Park. But it was also very disappointing at how limp that Kildare performance was. I really did expect more.
Yeah. I think everyone did, didn't we? Like I expected Dublin to win the game, but I thought Kildare would bring a lot more than what they did. It was just deer in headlights in the first 10, 15 minutes, and the game was over and was taken away from them. And Dublin have been building towards that over the last couple of weeks, and it was everything you associate with Dublin at their best. Just a real ruthless, clinical edge. Their forward play, the structure they had up front, and this is what Conor Callaghan brings. He is that focal point there. And then you've got Costello, Rock, Kilkenny, all these guys coming off. He just gives a focal point to that attack. And that's what they were missing so badly during the National League in the spring. We watched them so many times. We're talking about how there was lateral play, there was no penetration, there was no edge in their attack. They've shown over the last 3 or 4 weeks that they are serious threat to win this All-Ireland. And yeah,
they really are. Like, is it too early to say that Conor Callaghan is the most informed footballer in the country? He's been quite frightening how he's been playing so far, but like he is only back from injury. Like who's in the mix for that? Like, okay, Shane Walsh is in the mix, 100%. I'm not sure we can say any of the Kerry footballers are in the mix yet. They've got the job done. 2 big scores posted against Cork and Limerick, but I don't think they've been tested in any way. So Con's in the mix because of what he's done so far. Shane Walsh is in the mix. He's done it now against Roscommon and also against Mayo. He kicked some big frees that day as well and did his job. Any other Galway footballers in the mix in most important player in the country? Killian McDade, I would say.
He got an outrageous point with the punt / outside of the right. Yeah. It was beautiful score.
He's a big unit, boys, isn't he?
He is. He can move as well.
Yeah. He's obviously an ex-AFL.
Yeah. Like you have McCaig, Chrissy McCaig is the tightest marker in the country at the moment. He bobbles fellas. That marking with one hand on the shoulder, one on the hip. That is just like, and he's following around like the Thriller video. Like he's so tight. Like he kept McBurty to no score from play.
He kept McBurty to no score. He kept McCarron to no score from play. And Darren McCurry got 2 points from play against them in the second half. And
they were worldies.
Yeah. That is some form, boys.
It is unreal. When you have a man that can wrap up the opposition's best forward, it's invaluable. How many systems the teams have to play to quieten forwards?
Yeah.
Imagine being able to turn the dressing room and just go, Chrissy, will you take him there and we'll be fine. Like, that is unbelievable. Like,
had you been marked by him before?
I marked him once in Killarney. Very sticky, very powerful, strong, bit of everything.
I was speaking to Ronan O'Neill yesterday. We had our GA late night show that you'll get in the OTB GAA feed if you're listening to us there. And O'Neill hadn't been marked by him, but he'd been marked by his brother Carl. But he said that Chrissy, when he's marking you and it's a job to mark you, he won't worry about what's going on. If there's a goal, a 2-on-1 going, he will just stick with his man and do that job.
Yeah.
And Michael Quinlivan actually had a very different experience against them. Quinlivan won an All-Star in 16. McCabe marked them in Championship that day. Derry played Tipperary and Tipperary got to the All-Ireland semi-final. What Tip did was they brought Quinlivan out to midfield after a couple of minutes, and Quinlivan had a big impact in the game, but McCabe was able to mix it with him out there as well. Like, he's done it for Schlockneil. He's able to play out the field as well. Like, so yeah, very impressive footballer.
Yeah, I think
the big challenge for Derry is getting the Crow Park. That system, and Chris McCaig is outstanding, but the system complements him as well.
Yeah.
Yes, he's picking up McBurty, or he's picking up the opposition's main threat, but he's never really left one-on-one. He could deal with that. He's that good a defender as well, but the system also protects him as well. But the challenge Derry are going to have, they're not under the radar anymore.
Certainly not.
Absolutely not. And there's an expectation on them now. They are the Ulster champions. And if we said whoever comes out and wins the Ulster championship this year are going to be in, they're genuine contenders for an All-Ireland now. And it's a massive jump for Derry to be in that conversation now from where they were. That shows how good the job Rory Gallagher has done. But Derry will have a big challenge playing and operating that system in Croke Park against the best teams. And that's I'm intrigued to see how they go. But
there was a bit of chatter today on Twitter. A couple of people trying to figure out what the situation with the quarterfinal draw might be. Carol Kane was saying that the GA won't be abandoning its rule on avoiding repeat quarterfinal pairings. So it means that Derry can't play any of Dublin, Dublin, Galway, Kerry, the provincial winners. Nor can they play Donegal, Tyrone or Monaghan in the All-Ireland quarterfinals. So there you're going to be left with a Clare or a Meath, a Cork or a Louth. I think it's how it's looking. Or a Mayo potentially.
Very strong favourites for it.
Or Mayo. Yeah. If they get by Monaghan. And the winners then, obviously, you're on the side that Galway are on. Whoever Galway come, if they get through on the far side. So that's how it's shaping up. So who are we saying is in the mix? So we're saying Con, we're saying Shane Walsh, we're saying Chris McCaig, Rogers, I presume.
Yeah.
Any other Derry boys in the mix there? Like, they've all been very good as a unit. Like, it's Conor Doherty, Conor Glass, Shane McGuigan making the cut. McKinless obviously had 2 massive games before this weekend.
He was quiet this weekend, yeah.
But
like McGuigan,
they're in that unit.
McGuigan's a leader for them, an absolute leader. And he is one of the top players in the country. Like, as we said, the system doesn't exactly allow him to be the most expressive. Like, he probably is even better than what he's showing, but he's rowing the boat, in that system, and he's seriously leading it.
He got a big score from play, but one of the biggest things he did at the weekend was holding on to that ball on the line when his own goalkeeper, Oren Lynch, nailed him. Did you see that towards the last couple of minutes? Donegal peppered a long ball in. McGuigan gets his paws on it. Number 14, he's back on the line. Anyways, you mightn't remember it, but that stood out to me as one of the big moments.
But with the forwards, there's not many forwards who are playing like with that much expression at the moment. Like Shane Walsh sticks out so much because he's just brilliant, obviously, but he's playing off a different hymn sheet. Like, but a lot of the attack we're seeing is very slow. It's running down the wing, looking for the loop. Like, the good defenders eat that up. McCaig is just delighted to be defending that, like to that kind of attacking play. So in Croke Park, if teams start playing with a bit more freedom, kicking the ball, we'll see.
Does Croker change that, James? Like, have you no choice but to do that in Croker?
If you want to win in Croke Park, yeah, you definitely need to move the ball faster. There was a couple of behind the goal camera shots, and McBrearty and McCaig were actually 1-on-1. So I'm not sure, was it McBrearty didn't really want the pass, the long ball, or it was just not a thing that Donegal were going to do, but it was on all right. So you'd wonder if other teams were kind of more tuned into kicking the ball, would that cause Derry a lot of problems?
Yeah. We're going to come back to that in a couple of minutes' time. Just go through the results. Dublin were crowned Leinster champions. I think it's 16 and 17. They won 5-17 to 115. They bet Kildare by more than they bet Meath by. That's my only Meath mention this week. Kerry 128, Limerick 8 points. That was in Clarny, 3 o'clock on Saturday. I think that's Kerry's 83rd Munster title. Roscommon 216, Galway 219. Even while Galway were 9 points up, I still felt like Roscommon could go back in that game, but just didn't mix it up enough, I think, in the last couple of minutes. Galway, finally a Connacht win. I think Joyce been beaten in the last 2 finals in Connacht, so they needed to get that win. They got over the line, which is a big deal for them. And finally, Derry 116, Donegal 114 after extra time, an historic win for Derry, their first Ulster title since 1998. In the Tailteann Cup, Offaly bet Wicklow by 18 points to 10. Statement win there, knocking Wicklow out in the process. Carlow with an incredible win against Tipperary, knocking out one of the favourites, 112 to 110. Tipperary tried to stage a late comeback, left themselves with far too much to do. Carlow got over the line, so a big win there for Niall Carew's team. Laois were in a good position against Westmeath in this game. Kevin Maguire was sent off, their fullback, one of their main defenders. Westmeath get a goal in the second half. Hang on, they get over the line, so Westmeath go on to the quarterfinals of the Tailteann Cup. And then in the northern section, Fermanagh bet Longford, 112 to 12. That's Longford's season over. Sligo got through London after extra time. They needed extra time to get past them. They won 315 to 216. Cavan with a big win against Down, 24 points to 112. So that's Down's nightmare year finished. So we'll see what happens with Down football after this. And possibly one of the results of the weekend, Leitrim 214, Antrim 112. Have to hold my hands up, boys. You two called it. You did not doubt Andy Moran's Warriors. They got over the line. I might have cast a little bit of doubt over it. I said Antrim will win after extra time. But no, Moran has them flying.
Our predictions are starting to get a little bit better, lads, to be fair to us.
Yous are, yeah. But yeah, Enda McGinley actually stepped down after that game, so it kind of remains to be seen what's going on in Antrim football at the minute. It felt like they were making steps forward over the last 18 months, 2 years. McGinley has stepped down. I haven't heard or read much about it since, but we'll keep an eye on that one. So just to give you the quarterfinal draw for the Tailteann Cup, Offaly at home to New York. That is a novel pairing. The New York team will be travelling over for that game next weekend. Carlow, Westmeath. Carlow have earned a home win, a home draw against one of the favourites, Westmeath. Fermanagh are at home to Cavan, and Leitrim are at home to Sligo. I was cribbing about the final league game of the year earlier this year that was supposed to be in Markievicz Park. I said it could have been a sellout if they got their timings right. It ended up being a non-event where the game didn't matter. This game now in Carrick, again, you'd imagine there's going to be a bit of a sellout here with Leitrim and Sligo. That'll be a cracking game. So we're going to get stuck into our championship review now in the next couple of minutes. Just a reminder, Paddy Andrews, you better shave for Thursday because we are in Castlebar on Thursday night. We can't wait for it. Are you looking forward to it, Paddy? Have you got your head around it? You are looking forward to it. Okay, that's good. Yeah, you're going to need to do a bit of recovery. Get your recovery points in before Thursday night. Yeah, the show is Thursday night in the Royal TF Theatre. We're really looking forward to it. Keith Higgins is joining us, as we mentioned last week on the podcast. We can't wait for it. We're looking forward to seeing you all there. A couple of tickets left. They're on Ticketmaster, or if you go to otbsports.com/events, you get all the details there. Show kicks off at 7:30. It's Thursday night. Mayo are obviously playing Monaghan this weekend, so we'll be building up to that and chatting to Keith Higgins, James, and Paddy, obviously. This is episode 19 of the Football Pod. It is brought to you by AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. Just check out #TheToughest for more. We're going to be back right after this with our championship review.
Probably did hate Mayo, or we thought it was hate at the time, because these guys are trying to take away our dreams.
The Football Pod, live.
Thursday, June 2nd in Castlebar.
Check out otbsports.com/events
and get your tickets now.
You're very welcome back to episode 19 of the Football Pod. I've still got James O'Donoghue with me, and Paddy Andrews is still standing. You don't want a little break there, Paddy, do you?
No, truck on.
You're okay.
The Orlites.
If you do Orlites, yeah, exactly.
Actually, do you know what? Did you say you had the whoop?
No,
I have it.
Do you wear it, Paddy? No.
I wear the whoop.
Tommy.
I wear it. Yeah, we've got a triathlon this Sunday, so I'll be taking it easy in Castlebar on Thursday night.
I wore it, right? And I was at a wedding Saturday, my cousin's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think my recovery was yesterday?
Did you get... Hold on. The wedding was in Dublin, right?
Yeah.
And it was in your side of the family?
Yeah, my cousin.
You were more invested in the drinking this time, were you?
I suppose I was, yeah. I had more commitment to the cause this time.
Okay. And did you go for a dip in the sea that night or the following morning? Okay, I'd say your recovery was 22%.
6%.
Oh, Jesus.
I was actually worried about myself.
What did you drink?
Oh, I didn't know it went down that low. I was like, before that, the lowest I had was like 66%.
Wow.
But it does, I think it's good. It does actually show you like...
No, it's great. I found it to be brilliant.
Yeah.
I've been using it since I had an injury last September when I started using it, and found it really helpful to kind of build back up afterwards, because you were training, you know, the way you'd be training. And no, you're not going to go up to a manager and say, my whoop is telling me, you know, my whoop is telling me I can't train tonight. But you know yourself, like, you're going to have to get to the sea or get to the pool, or you're going to have to get your heart rate down a little bit. Like, it gives you really good stuff. Like, so, so we'll see how far the whoop carries me in this triathlon on Sunday. I am very worried about it.
What's the lowest you've gone recovery wise?
I'd say 20% maybe after drinking or something like that. I've never gone into 6%. Like, I don't know what you were drinking.
I'm trying to ask people, did you ever go down this low? No.
Well, I'll ask. We'll put that question out there and see if anyone's ever gone that low. I think I have seen people go down that low. I definitely have seen people go down that low. Yeah. So, okay. Ulster Final. James, would it be fair to say that Donegal played with a serious element of fear? And I ask you this with two moments in mind. I'm talking about the very end of normal time when they had the ball in their hands, and the very end of first half injury time in extra time. Both times they had the ball, there was 30-40 seconds left in the clock, yet they played it slow, they kept the ball in around midfield, they played it safe, they protected the ball. They were terrified of breaching that Derry defence for fear that they may be countered. And ultimately it came back to bite them.
Yeah. Fear... Yeah, that's kind of a difficult one. Like, I don't think it was a fear of being counterattacked necessarily. I think it was just lack of ideas. Like, they didn't inject any pace whatsoever. So they seemed to hold the ball on halfway, pass into each other, almost standing still and happy enough to do it. And some teams that are badly organised, if you go to one wing, back to centre, back to the other wing, eventually you will find a chink and someone won't do their job. But against a side who probably practices it 3 times a week, with serious intensity and aggression like Gallagher does with Derry, there was no chink. And yeah, they just held back. I don't think they injected enough pace. They didn't commit any Derry man to the tackle, which didn't leave any overlaps. It was just so one-paced. But I think that neither side kind of wanted to lose it. They knew it was going to be close.
Yeah.
And they wanted it to go down to the wire. I think the Donegal probably thought that they have the experience, as Paddy said, to
get over the line.
Bag in the end, but they didn't, and they didn't deserve to win it either.
Yeah.
But in the last play of extra time,
yes,
they're 2 down.
Yes.
There's been an injury. There was a bit of time wasting, and it was 71 minutes when Murphy gets the free. So if they had a bit more intensity, chip the point, at the same time, usher everyone up, even Patton, just come up and do that press that we've seen Donegal do. Make Oran Lynch go for a long kick out, win that. And then suddenly you can get another chance, but they were never going to get the goal to win it, I don't think. Come
on, James. You have been in that position, whether it be club or county level, and you were talking to the referee. You know how long is left. Are you telling me that they didn't ask Herson?
How long
are you asking me that they didn't ask Herson? All you need is one play. All you need is a referee to say, "Yeah, I'm playing one more play after this."
Yes, but what does he have to say for you to
one play
to chip it? If he says
you'll get the kick out, if you win possession on the kick out, play on.
But they won't go into that much detail for you.
Put over himself for you as well.
If he says 30 seconds, if he says 30 seconds,
if he says 30 seconds, that's enough time.
Yeah,
because then you've won the ball high up the pitch, and you have to inject pace.
Yeah, he won't give you that much detail, no.
If this goes out to your midfielder and he catches it over his head.
Paddy, on that, can I just ask you this, and I'll let you pick up afterwards? Like, the Dubs definitely perfected the art of knowing the clock. And I don't know whether that's because you played so much games in Croker and the clock is that bloody big on the big screen. But when you had the ball going into the 33rd minute, the 34th minute, the 69th minute, or the 73rd minute, if there was 2 minutes left, you'd keep it to the buzzer, but you would always make sure you got that last shot at the half off.
Look, it comes down to game management, and that's why it was surprising for, like, in a game that tight, you would expect Donegal's greater experience. They've been in this position so many more times than Derry, particularly in championship games like that. That's what you're relying on. That, okay, we understand exactly where we are in the match. We need to score. We need to keep the ball. We need to kill the clock. We need to get it to one of our shooters. And that was the surprising thing, that Donegal, in a game that tight, that they were probably just outwitted, I felt, by Derry. I don't know if fear is the right word. I just think they were overly conservative.
Okay.
And Derry, James is right. Like, you're looking like Paddy Morgan obviously had a good impact in the first half. When you're playing against a defensive system like that, you need pace in your game. Either you're moving the ball really fast, or you've got strike runners like Owen Gallagher, like Paddy Morgan. And that's Donegal. It just seemed it was so passive for the entire match. It was. I don't think they didn't turn the Derry defence. They didn't probe at all, really. And James was like, they didn't deserve to win that game. They didn't deserve to win the game. It's such a disappointing performance from Donegal again, because you feel like they've been thereabouts in the Ulster Championship for the last 10 years, and they just do not seem to win the biggest games.
Yeah, how does it keep happening to them? Because, like, the players you listed there, they have the attributes. If you were playing Football Manager here, you'd be signing these lads for their pace and their flair and whatever else. They have the attributes you want to play that type of game. Why aren't they playing it?
It was surprising, yes. You think they turned the corner, particularly their performance against Armagh, Ballybuffet. You're thinking, this is Donegal are getting back to the level that we feel they should be at, and that's why it's just such a flat result for them yesterday. But you look at their biggest players, like Jamie Brennan was quiet. Paddy McBrearty obviously well shackled by Chrissy McKaig. Ryan McHugh didn't really influence the game. We were talking about guys like Langan or Murphy with long range points. We just didn't really see that at all. Like, out of the Donegal team, how many of their big players performed yesterday? And that's just an issue with Donegal. We've said it over the years. If all their big players play well, they're a contender for the All-Ireland. But it just doesn't seem, there's no consistency there. It just doesn't seem to happen for them. And they can have no complaints with yesterday. None whatsoever.
No. James, can you get your head around why they keep falling short?
I don't think it's a mentality thing, to be honest.
You don't think they're freezing?
I don't. I think that they have the personalities on the pitch. They have the leaders and they have the ability.
So is it the management team?
It seems to be a little bit of they're going for putting words in my mouth.
That's a loud.
Is it the manager? No.
But like, if it's not the mentality, if it's not the players,
I do think it's coaching. I do think it's coaching because I think they're playing the game too slow. Yeah. They're the only team I see at the top level who hand pass the ball, and it might bounce twice before the other fella bends down to pick it up. Like, they just don't seem to want to do things fast, and it's predictable. So when they are coming out the pitch, he's going to pass it out wide. He's going to trot back into the middle. He's going to give it in there. Whereas when Donegal were Donegal, there was diagonal balls. The ball was breaking around the square. There was shots coming like Murphy, and did kick 2 lovely points from long range of fairness. But there was more of that, but I think it's just too
samey.
Too passive.
Samey. Yeah. It almost it could be a case of over-coaching. Like, you have to do this, you have to do that, rather than be a bit brave and have a bit more imagination.
Okay, Paddy, last word on Donegal. Can they have a say on the rest of the championship?
I think they can. They're going to need to be picked up after that. That's a bad defeat for them. They would have favourites going into the game. Like I said, we thought they'd turn the corner, and they were getting back to that little consistent performances. And look, they'll still be a handful, but I don't think they're in All-Ireland contenders.
Yeah, I was hoping they might prove themselves to be contenders this weekend. Like, I'm a massive fan of that Derry team. I just feel like Derry had possibly another year before we were going to see them at their best. I just thought that Donegal would need it. Well, hopefully I'm not going to even say it. I was going to say hopefully they prove us wrong, but like, we've just been let down too many times by Donegal already. Like,
yeah, there's probably another big game in them, and we will big them up again then. Because they'll come back strong.
I expected them to win this one, lads.
It's just they have the players. It's just, it's kind of mind-boggling. Right, let's move on to
what
Connacht.
Was good to see about Derry. They got the backdoor cut again.
Niall Loughlin, brilliant. Yeah.
But they have that perfected. And one goal, as you said, can change the game, especially in Ulster.
Yeah.
To get the goal first.
Culver's cut back. McFadden and Ferry, look, they'd be disappointed. Like, to have all those bodies back there.
And get caught, yeah.
And to get caught like that. It was an easy goal to give away. Like, and you're right, in a game that tight, you knew scores were going to be at a premium. And it was just sloppy defending. And look, very, very good composure from Derry, to be fair. Towner's pass across and Loughlin's finish, but
it was lovely.
Donegal would be frustrated looking at that.
It was like Kilkenny to Con, wasn't it? It was like that goal we've seen so many times in Dublin, that backdoor cut.
Yeah, that's probably where they got it from.
Yeah.
But what Donegal would have done there is the forward would have run the other way around him and
look for the loop.
They'd gone for the loop. Might have had a shot at the post, but might have even given it backwards. At least Derry threw something different into that attack, and it paid off for him.
Yeah, Paddy, you obviously weren't surprised at all that Gallagher went and did this year with Derry.
I'm surprised Derry have won the Ulster Championship.
Are you?
Yeah. We spoke at length on this podcast about what a great coach Rory Gallagher is and the job he's doing, but I didn't think Derry would win the Ulster Championship. I thought they're an impressive team, but I agree with you. I thought it was early in their development to go. Could they win? Could they beat Tyrone perhaps? But I didn't expect them to back it up the way they have. And it's a brilliant story from them. Like, bear in mind, they didn't get promoted out of Division 2. So there's massive strides they've made over the last number of years. But I just thought it may be a little bit early for them to go and do what they've done. And that's why it's even more outstanding. And just seeing the scenes on the pitch afterwards, listening to the players, Chris McKay, Rory Gallagher's interview, it's a brilliant story. And that's why it's intriguing now to see that was a massive goal for them. What's next?
Yeah. Well,
are they thinking we could win an All-Ireland here? Is that what, or is it? Are they kind of happy? Do they settle with their lot now?
Come on, you know Rory Gallagher. Yeah. There's no way they're settling back.
What did he say to them in the dressing room after the game? I wonder. Was it a case of lads, this is an unbelievable achievement. Have your few points tonight, but we are getting back on this wagon Tuesday night. Was it one of them, like a reveler, we're not finished yet? Or was it a case of we've hit our main goal?
It's hard to know.
Hopefully they give it a rattle, because
But look, lads, if
they have it.
you said at the start of the season, I said whoever wins the Ulster Championship will be right in the mix to win the All-Ireland. So that's the genuine, that's the level they're at now. There's an expectation, there's a pressure that comes with that. But let's see, nobody's going to want to play Derry. Like they are going to be a handful for anyone. The big challenge they're going to have is when that system in Croke Park and playing against teams like Dublin or Kerry, where the pace of play and pace of attack is a lot quicker than what they would have faced in Clonus yesterday. And that's how they adapt to that. That's the interesting thing to see.
Okay. Well, we will be talking about Derry in a bit more on Thursday night in Castlebar alongside Keith Higgins as we look ahead to look at where the championship is at in general. I would like to move on to the Connacht Final in Galway Roscommon. We're not going to get stuck on Roscommon here. We focused a bit on Donegal and their performance there. I want to talk about Galway. We talked about Shane Walsh, and for me, there was a point in the first half before his goal and before that awesome sidestep and dummy for the goal, where he has the ball about 35 yards out. Possibly could take a snapshot, but he slows it down. There isn't even a screen, but somehow a gap appears and he accelerates. He goes from 0 to 100, as James says, and just puts it over the bar. I'm not sure there's anyone who can do that. Around the same time, I happened to tweet that Rob Finnerty is on it. He had kicked 2 points by that stage.
Yep.
John Higgins got in touch and said, Finnerty is useless when he's actually being marked. He's had way too much space. Roscommon need to tighten up. Now, Finnerty went on to kick 5 points. I would hazard a guess to say that.
See from Roscommon.
John was from Roscommon and that Rob Finnerty is not useless. I thought he was a massive loss last year when he went off in the Connacht Final in the first half. He was definitely a big part of Galway's game plan. They replaced him with a half forward who's very different to the type of footballer that he is. When we look at that trio, Walsh, Comer, Finnerty up top.
Handful.
As a trio, James, do you think that they complement each other well?
I do. And Finnerty has so much quality. And to be almost rated as the number 3 there, like, he's going to get third pick. Do you know, like, whoever's going to be marking in full back line isn't going to be their best. He's not going to be a Christy McKaig. He's not even going to be their second best. They have to put their third best on him. So to have that weapon in there, I think is fantastic for them. But the way they play, I used to hate playing in a full forward line with 3 in there, because I feel like there's no space. If you want to do a run from one corner, maybe even to the other, or maybe a diagonal run, there's an awful lot of bodies, even your own teammates, who are probably making a similar run. Whereas when you're inside with 2, it seems to be a bit more space.
You just wanted Donaghy beside you, so he'd stay in the square.
And he screened my man there as I run past you. But they do that well. Shane Walsh comes out, Comer can come out, Finnerty seems to stay in a lot. Yeah. But they're not on top of each other.
Yeah, they complement each other well.
They do. They seem to have a bit of an understanding there. And that's important, because if there was just 3 out and out full forward line players, they probably wouldn't be as effective. But because probably 2 of the 3 can play outside and can supply as well, that makes them able to play with each other very well.
Yeah. Roscommon seemed to be dropping a sweeper from their left-hand side, and Galway were getting a lot of joy in that side. They were overloading it. Walsh, McDade, I think Malloy was attacking on that left-hand side quite a bit in the first half. In terms of their defensive setup, Roscommon got quite a few shots off. Like we talk about Donegal not taking their shots the weekend. Roscommon's accuracy let them down in a 5 to 8 minute spell before half time when Galway got their goals. Roscommon missed some decent efforts, some decent chances in front of the posts that they will be regretting, I'd say, looking back on that today.
Smith's goal chance, and
he could have slipped it in the first. You know about the one in the first half that he could have slipped.
Yeah,
could have slipped it inside him. There's a man off him. He put it wide. Yeah, there's a man off his shoulder. Roscommon mix it up. Then they're 9 points down. They mix it up quite late. They probably could have got a penalty. They get 2 late goals. Galway again.
I don't give any credit for that, because it's easy to play when you're. It's like a soccer match. Easy to play when you're 2-0 down.
Okay,
you've nothing to lose. Let's go at it.
Okay.
It's like when you're being hammered in the first half and you come out and you have a noble display in the second half and you win the second half.
You don't think Galway creaked?
I think that Roscommon were always going to put that heat on. I think that ideally Galway maybe should have been a bit tighter, but like as many bodies as Galway have back. They conceded 216.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they don't have that system nailed on yet. But I think that Roscommon have to throw everything they had at it because they were 9 down. And whether they lose by 9 or lose by 20, doesn't really matter.
Yeah. My issue was that they stayed doing the same thing for too long in that second half. Took a long time to bring on Glennon, took a long time to bring on Murtha, and actually put the ball in the mixer, you know?
Isn't the long ball so nice to see every so often? Because it causes absolute mayhem.
Just let it in.
Just let it in every so often, even. If you've one ball winner, just put it in there.
Was there one ball put on Murphy in that Ulster final? Not one.
And like Oran Lynch isn't exactly brilliant in the air. Do you know, like Murphy would have caused them hassle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think teams need to change it up a bit more, definitely. But we said it before, you come down to your conversion. Your conversion absolutely papers over every crack in your team. If you can put the ball over the bar is more often than not. If you're up to 80%, but Roscommon weren't. So they missed their chances. It would have been a different game going down the stretch if they had their conversion rate a bit higher.
Paddy, would I be right in saying you're a fan of what Galway have been trying to do over the last little while? Like, were you impressed with that at the weekend?
Yeah, I think if you're trying to win the All-Ireland, you have to. The issue Galway have had, and the issue Roscommon had, is that they're too easy to play against for the top teams. So there needs to be a better organisation. There needs to be an edge to their defensive system, and Galway have started implementing that. We know they've guys like Shea Walsh, guys like Finnerty, guys like Comer, Paul Conroy. They're going to kick scores, but the worry for Galway, as impressive as they have been, they could see 216 yesterday, and I agree with James. I wouldn't put the game was over, but the test for Galway is going to be when they're in Croke Park, that they haven't nailed that system yet. There's definitely improvements in it. You can see what Cian O'Neill has done and John Divney and Power Choice, but I think they're going to struggle against the top teams with that defensive system. It's still not. They'll continue to improve, and they need to improve over the next couple of weeks. But I still don't put them in the top tier despite winning the Connacht Championship.
Not bad to win a Connacht Championship when you're still learning on the job. It definitely buys Joyce and O'Neill time.
Definitely.
Beyond this season.
It does. And Park have been in there for this is his third year, and they hadn't had that
crucial.
Success. So getting relegated last year was obviously a big setback for them and how they lost the Connacht Final. So this year, to win the FBD League, to get promoted back to Division 1 and now win the Connacht Championship and by beating Mayo and Roscommon, that's a successful year for them. But I still think there's issues with Galway defensively, and in Croke Park against the top teams. We're getting into the business end of the season now. I think that's where they're going to fall short.
Yeah. James, I have a couple of bones to pick with you. Jimmy's sources appeared last week when you let us know that Roscommon were flying.
I said they played a few challenge matches and I heard some good reports about them.
Okay. You didn't give us the big news out of those challenge matches.
What was the big news?
The Cliff.
That he didn't play.
Like you're a man on the ground in Kerry. Clearly everyone in Kerry knew that Dave Clifford wouldn't. You didn't know?
I didn't know that he didn't play.
But did you know that
they played Kerry?
Okay.
But I mean,
you got to choose what side of defense you're on, buddy. Paddy had this problem last year, and he soon learned.
No, I didn't know that he wasn't playing, but I don't think often you wouldn't play a challenge match the week before.
Of course. Yeah.
I still thought he'd tug, but
there was obviously an element of.
I think that if it was a quarterfinal, he'd have played. If it was not on quarterfinal, no, I don't think there was any need to risk him there. If anything, the week after doing good.
Yeah, there's a couple of weeks obviously to go here. If you nick that hamstring, you're out of contention for the quarterfinal.
Yeah, before I remember
if you nick a calf or a groin or whatever it is.
There is no time this year. I tore my hamstring one time in a Munster Final, and I did a grade 2 good job in it. I was out for 6 weeks and back for the semi-final. There was so much time. I was back in training hard. But now it's a case of if you're out for 6 weeks, you'll actually miss the All-Ireland Final at this stage, will you?
Yeah, cool.
Oh, maybe not that. Maybe not.
You'd have 10 days before the All-Ireland Final.
So there's absolutely no point in risking anyone, especially in a Munster Championship. That's an absolute waste of time.
Spillane played quite well.
He did.
Killian.
They have options up front, in fairness.
They definitely do.
And that was actually Killian to play that game was probably great for Kerry as well, because he had a personal mission. You know, he wasn't going to take the eye off the ball there. He needed to put in a good performance to put him back in the mix for later on. So
to start, he's obviously in the mix to come off the bench, but to prove that he could start, obviously, yeah.
He is an excellent sub. He always comes on and kicks a point because he has left and right. He has that lazy kicking style from both sides, and he can throw him over.
He brings that pace.
He does. But just on Galway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just in terms of their defence, I bet they would have worked an awful lot on the team defence, right? But you still have to be a good individual defender inside in that team defence. Like, if I went back into a defensive unit, I'd be a liability. Do you know? Like, either someone would sidestep me or I'd foul them. Like, you still need to be a good defender if you're going to be involved in that system. So maybe that's where Galway can improve individually.
Okay. Were you ever coached to be a bit better?
Not that much, to be honest. Maybe they thought I'd no hope.
Andrews, you had a little dalliance back in defence. Famously, we've spoken about in this pod quite a bit. You played cornerback. Gilroy had you back there. You obviously played centre back for DCU for a while. Defensively, were you good?
I wouldn't say it's the strongest part of my game.
What was the issue?
As far as forwards go, you would have been a very good defender. Like.
Yeah.
So look, it's
like you weren't flat-footed. Like you wouldn't get caught flat-footed. You'd be able to.
Oh, Jesus, the odd time you might.
I have an awful issue with that.
No, I like
being flat-footed. I'm working on my boxer stance.
We're talking about like some of the most prominent defenders in the game now, like a Christian McKay. You're going, the system is helping him do that, but he's also a brilliant one-on-one defender. Attention to detail, his focus, like we're saying, reminds me of Mick Fitzsimons in a way from our Dublin team as well, where it's, I'm not interested in anything else. Running up the pitch, doing any fancy stuff. My job is to take you out of the game. And it's a mentality to have that. And the best defenders have that. The man markers. And I don't see many of them in Galway. It's a skill. It's a massive part of the game. And the best teams have guys that can shut down key players. Like, I don't think, even with a defensive system that Keane O'Neill has helped implement there's probably still. That's why I'm not putting Galway in the bracket of All-Ireland contenders. Yeah.
So club championships this winter, this autumn, any sticky cornerbacks, Joyce will have his eye out on them.
Well, it's not just any team would want them.
Yeah.
The highest
They're in short demand.
If you're playing Kerry, you need someone who's going to mark Clifford. If you're playing Tyrone last year, someone who's going to mark McCurry. All the best teams have marquee forwards. A system will help minimise the damage they can do, but you also need a man-to-man marker that's going to be able to take someone out, like in McKay and what he's done in the Ulster Championship so far.
100%. We're going to get to Kildare Dublin in a moment because I want to talk about Owen Merchant absolutely eating Jimmy Hyland alive in that game as well. Hyland just at times, now it was obviously difficult, but it's just at times Hyland, I think he touched the ball for the first time 20 odd minutes into the game. And there's two things there. 32, was it?
32nd minute, he snapped over a great point, I think, with his first touch.
Yeah, obviously got his goal as well, but Merchant did a serious job on him across the board. The second issue, not an issue, James, you don't have to worry about this. GloveGate reared his head again this weekend, and I want to get a clarification for our listeners, okay? Two different comments. So the first one was from Damo Belton. On the next pod, can you ask James what he thought of Josh Ryan wearing a pair of Micasas for the Munster Final on a scorcher of a day? In fairness to Josh Ryan, he kicked one of the points of the game, a free from the sideline. Beautiful. I didn't actually realise he was wearing the gloves. Did you spot that?
I did.
Okay. Thoughts?
Well, he kicked the grey free, but he wasn't fetching ball inside in the full forward line, like with the gloves on.
Okay. Second one, Shane Meehan was in touch. Brendan Rodgers isn't a bad baller for someone who wears gloves on a smashing day. Brackets, I still agree with James. Now, I did get back and said that I think it only applies snippy inside forwards. Can you confirm or deny?
That it only
applies to inside forwards?
Well, it's definitely more forward based, that comment, because a forward is going to rely on their handling an awful lot more than a defender is. Like, a defender only needs to get a hand in or get a hand on the forward, whereas the forward needs the feel of the ball. He needs that natural touch of the ball. Like, the ball has to be almost a part of you. So having a pair of gloves on that day does not help that relationship with you and that football. That I just feel so.
You're never going to
passionately
live this
about
down,
that.
Jimmy.
No, I just think
Sending me pictures of me wearing gloves morning, noon, and night. I can't shake this off.
Ambassador.
your DMs are full. As long as you're not getting catfished, I wouldn't mind with that.
Well, I don't think that. If you had to say, fair enough, some people just love wearing the gloves as like superstition as well. And Rodgers probably never takes the field. He's also a great hurler, though. So
totally, yeah, 100%.
You never know what they're going to do. Hurlers are a different breed.
GloveGate rolls on. Paddy Andrews, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a Dublin dressing room? Now, have a think here. Think about this. I want you to think long and hard about this. Have you ever been in a Dublin dressing room where the last words from your manager were, "We are going for goals here"? Because it certainly looked like that on Saturday. They were ruthless.
Yeah, they were. Look, they were. Dublin, like I said, over the last couple of weeks, they've been building up. We touched on from the Meath game, their scoring efficiency, how they were just so clinical. But Kildare made it very, very easy for them, lads. It was, we spoke about it, and what was Kildare's mentality going into the game? They needed to be brave, they needed to go for it, but they were just, it was naive nearly in a way. And any sort of game plan they had, it didn't look, Dublin get their goal, Kieran Kilkenny's goal, and Kildare look shell-shocked, don't they? And it's just, it was so easy for Dublin. Their structure point was really good, though. Like I said, Khan gives a focal point there. Costello and Dean Rock were staying in really deep, right inside the 13, and Dublin were actively looking, we want to kick the ball in here.
Yeah.
Everything, the issues we spoke about them during the National League was it was too lateral from Dublin. There was no focal point. It was slow. It was passive. Saturday night was Dublin back to their best. Real speed in their play. Sean Bugler, Owen Merchant, Lee Gannon, they're looking inside. We want to kick the ball. We want to move this ball up the pitch really, really quickly. And Kildare just had no answers. And it was like there was some pretty bad defending by Kildare as well.
Yeah.
But Dublin were ruthless.
No,
Dublin were really ruthless. And I said the game was over after 20 minutes.
It was awesome at times.
That's the most disappointing thing from a Kildare standpoint, that all the build-up for this season, they would have fancied going into that game. There was a confidence about Kildare, and they were just taken to the cleaners.
Do you think there was a little bit in their head that they were going for goals and they were going to bury Kildare? They were making a statement in that the first 10 minutes?
No, because you start forcing things then as well. So we have spoken about it. If you turn over the opponents, or if you win an opposition kick out, there's an opportunity. The defence isn't set, so let's have a look if it's on. But if you go in with the mentality of we're going to go for goals all the time, then you start taking bad options. You start trying to force things. Dublin just they smelled blood, and the best teams will put you to the sword at that time. And that 10-minute period, when you have someone like Conor O'Callaghan, he knows if he gets one-on-one, nearly like Clifford as well, I'm going at my man here and I'm going to cause havoc. And that was just, like I say, Kildare made it very easy for Dublin in that first half.
Could you believe, James, how easy it was for Sean Bugler to get a ball on the right wing and pop? It didn't even have to be a perfect pass, but a pass bouncing into the D where Khan could run out and win it, turn his man, make his mind up whether he wanted to slip it to Kilkenny or go himself. It happened 2 or 3 times. How does that happen? How does that happen?
I think it was a combination, and usually this doesn't happen at the same time, of just Kildare not getting their structure right at all, and Dublin being so on it that they could expose it. But those balls that you get to the top of the D, they're a 1 a gamer usually, maybe 2 a game, and like they're so important that you have to make hay when the ball does get there. But Dublin got in there time and time again, and Kildare actually had men back. Like the worst one, the goal that really, I know it was after a few, but John Smalls. They had loads of bodies back, but they just didn't pick him up. It would be like if I went back.
John Smalls is actually like he's going back away from goal,
and then changes his mind
and realizes there's no one marking me here.
Yeah,
like the whole Kildare defense, it just switched off, and it was like he was nearly shocked himself that he was in that much space.
Yeah,
and it's.
No, fair play to him for going for the goal that time as well, because he could have, or another team might have chipped the point, set up for the kick out again, but they were ruthless. All the goals were great goal chances, but they were ruthless.
Well, I think Smalley going for goal there proved that they had it in their head that they were there to bury Kildare. and put their foot in the throat. I haven't seen John Small do that before.
Yeah.
No, but that's like, it just, you're looking at the goal, it just didn't look right. It was like, how, that's just too easy. How that happened? And James is right. It's like a systems failure from Kildare and then Dublin being on it as well. It's just, it's disappointing for Kildare. For them to try and pick themselves back up again. I don't know. It's going to be a big ask to turn it around. And we said it last week. If the Dublin defence could shut down Hyland and Kerwin and Daniel Flynn, that they'd win the game. Because you always felt the Dublin forwards are going to cause, like, it's an Achilles heel for Kildare. It's been the same all season. Like, even against Westmeath, teams are racking up big scores against them. But it was ruthlessly exposed on Saturday night.
Yeah, 100%. Anything else to say about the Dubs, or will we save it for Thursday night in Castlebar?
I'm sure we'll have a lot of chat about them on Thursday night in Castlebar, I'd say. So,
yeah. James, is there anything else you wanted to pick up on before we move on?
No, just the way that they were able to run the ball into the square before they finished it on 2 occasions. Like, Kilkenny was 6 yards out when he kind of punted the ball past the keeper, and so was Con.
Yeah.
So great forward play results in goal chances. Like,
easy goal chances.
Yeah. They didn't necessarily have to be in the dressing room going, let's go for the goal. It was probably a case of, let's play this type of top quality football and the goals will just open up. And they did. It was just brilliant play.
I asked you last week to make the case for Kildare, and you said they had to start fast, they had to be aggressive, they had to be matching Dublin physically.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't get to the tune of it.
They came out, Cribben got a great score.
Yeah.
1-0. And it was like, whoa, right, let's see, this is going to take off. But then they just got into their defensive system and didn't actively defend. It was like a case of, we'll get the bodies back, see what you can do. And what they could do was score 5 goals. Like, they didn't actually defend inside in the defensive system. It
must be a horrible position to be in 10 minutes, 15 minutes into that game. And
I can't. Yeah.
That's
a scarring one for everyone.
Yeah.
I thought they were past that.
I remember getting Dustin, we spoke about it before, in a 2021's game against Cork, and like, I still think about it.
Really?
And that was a points defeat. I think they got like 25 or 6 points. 5 goals in the first 15, 20 minutes.
Was that the one where Jamie Wall roasted you and kicked 2 points?
Jamie Wall, he was a savage operator, to be fair to him.
Yeah. Paddy, did you ever get a dusting like that?
Yeah. Kerry, 2009.
And did it just feel like the game plan out the window?
That can happen as well. It's like, it kind of snowballs as well. Your tactics, and like you have weeks leading into the game and your matchups, and we're going to do this, and this, and you just get hit by a sucker punch. That day for us, I think Gooch scored a goal from the throw in, and it was just a panic then for us. All our tactics and game plan was out the window, and you could see that with Kildare as well. Like, Glenn Ryan was nearly lost for words after the match trying to explain it. They would have had tactics, they would have had matchups, they would have had, okay, this is what we're going to frustrate Dublin, we're going to block out our centre channel, we're not going to concede goals, and it just goes out the window then. Yeah. And you get off to a bad start like that, and then they just could not turn it around. And it's not easy. It's a hard place to be.
Yeah.
They kick 115. Like, they do have, I know they weren't brilliant.
They tagged on a lot late on.
They did, but they still have some quality there. Just disappointing they didn't get a chance to.
It is a pity.
Hang in there.
Yeah, it's a pity it wasn't. But even the spread was 7 points. The spread, it moved out to 7. There must have been a lot of money on the 6. It was just a pity it wasn't even close and Dublin pulled away.
But some teams, especially in Ulster, really, they sound you out at the start of a game. They kind of have a look at you and they say, right, we'll keep it tight here. Whereas Dublin, they go for it early. There's no hanging around. We'll see what they do. It's like, get this great start in and blow this crowd out of the water. Like, it's very impressive. It is very impressive to watch. But if you have that wrong mentality saying, we'll see how it goes here, they're just going to finish you off too quickly.
Trouble. Yeah. Okay. Going to rattle into the predictions here. We're doing a slightly shorter pod this week because we're, as I mentioned earlier on, heading to Castlebar for our second show on Thursday night, our first ever live show. We can't wait for it. I'm not going to ask you for your Mayo Monaghan prediction. I want you to keep that in your back pocket and you can let the crowd know in the Royal TF Theatre on the night. I'll give you an easy one. Clare Meath.
Clare.
Tommy, you're going to go for a draw anyway because you can't upset anyone there. It's your half and half jersey.
I actually had my Clare top on before, but I changed it.
I think Clare are going to win that one, lads. I have to say.
Clare at home as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Clare at home. They were very, very, very unlucky against Limerick.
But Limerick have not turned out to be that good.
No, Limerick bet Tip though, you know.
Tip lost to Carlow.
That's very fair. Where are you going, James? Now, I will let you know before I make my call that Meath have a sensational record against Clare in the championship. Like a freakishly good record.
It was 10-9 in the league, wasn't it?
10-9 in the league. They played each other in the league and championship a good few times, and they have just got a good record, even in Cusack Park.
Yeah. I don't know what either team have done, obviously, since they've been knocked out. But I think that Meath might have a bit too much.
Okay.
Isn't Jordan Morris though?
No, Jordan Morris got his red card overturned.
Was he?
Yeah, McEntee got a Dublin solicitor to look after him this week, so got it overturned.
That's a big change for them.
Yeah.
But I just think Colin Collins and Clare would be so disappointed to lose on penalties to Limerick. They're at home. Like you're looking at Meath were so bad against Dublin, lads. That's a scarring defeat. You're kind of thinking they have a sting in the tail and the kind of pride, I suppose, that they go out. But I just think Clare will have too much for that one.
Okay, one Clare, one Meath. Next game, Cork Loud.
Oh, one Clare, one Meath end.
You're not saying that.
You're going to laugh at me here. I think Clare are going to win in the penalty shootout.
Oh, right, okay.
I think it's going to go down to it. I think they're going to win in the penalty shootout. Cork and Loud.
Cork and Loud.
Cork probably is.
Really? It's been very, very quiet from both camps.
Yeah, Loud was just very disappointing how, like, Kildare wiped the floor with them. And you're thinking, the job Mickey Hart has done, back-to-back promotions, and you're thinking, geez, could they go out and do something in the championship? And then they were just so flat against Kildare.
Yeah, they were.
Cork, I think there'd be a bit of belief in Cork, even though they were beaten by Kerry and beaten well in the end. I thought there was a bit of energy around Cork after that game, and I think it's a massive game for them. I think Cork need to win it.
Yeah.
But I expect them. I think they'll have too much for Loud.
Did they say where it's on? Is it Páirc Uí Chaoimh?
I thought it was
Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
Is it Páirc Uí Chaoimh again?
No, I think it's Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
I think, yeah, Páirc Uí Chaoimh is more of a leveler than Páirc Uí Chaoimh maybe, but I fancy Cork. I think they put in a savage effort before that Kerry game, and that work will carry them through. And I fancy them to win it.
Maguire obviously played the Kerry game. He didn't look right.
He wasn't right, yeah.
He didn't look right. Do you think anyone risks themselves? Like Powder played that game as well. Do you think they've had a couple of weeks to get right, that they'll be good to go? Because they needed them, yeah.
They'll lead them.
I wonder, I don't know what they did after the game. Like, would they have taken a week off and said, will we group after the draw? Or do you know what the story was there?
I'd imagine they were given a week off, you know?
Yeah. So it was a chance to get the bodies right. And then once the draw is made, it's full focus. And I think the Cork would have thought, this is one we can win. I think it's a bigger game for Cork than it is Loud. You know, Cork do not want to lose that game. It would be a bad defeat. I fancy Cork.
Cork. I'm going to go Cork as well for the fact that it's at home and they've proven themselves in that 50 minutes. This is another chance to double down and another galvanizing effort.
And Cork will probably stick with what they did against Kerry.
Yeah.
So it probably won't be pretty.
I do think Loud will prove themselves that the Kildare game, there wasn't that much in it. There wasn't that much. They kind of froze a little bit, I think, in that Kildare game. I think Kildare obviously got their matchups really well that day, hammered them out the gate, they bullied them. So I think there was a bit more in Loud. So we'll see how that goes.
Could be a game for the free takers with Mulroy and Sherlock.
Good shout, yeah. It absolutely could be. Okay. Armagh Tyrone in the Athletic Grounds. I made a mistake. I thought the Athletic Grounds was always in Newry, but it's not. It's about 20 miles from Newry. I made that mistake on Twitter during the week.
We're all going to do something, lads.
Park Esther in Newry, obviously. Think there's a sting in the tail?
I think there. I don't think it's. it's been a bad season for them. They've kind of they've kind of been chasing their tail all season. They weren't great in the National League. Totally outclassed by Derry then as well. You're thinking there has to be a sting in the tail. But then the same from Armagh. When we were so disappointed with Armagh's performance in Ballybuffet a couple of weeks back, they're at home. There'll be a cracking atmosphere at this one, lads. It's the tightest to call, I feel. I'm just thinking Tyrone, there has to be one sting left from them. I expect them to win it.
I'll go against you, Paddy. I think Armagh will have gone away and fixed a lot of issues. Like that was not. What's that?
Kickouts.
Yeah.
One thing they need to get sorted anyway.
There are huge things to improve for Armagh. Whereas I think a lot of Tyrone's woes are probably psychologically and where the camp is and things like that. I think that Armagh is simply footballing. They need to improve on a couple of things they just didn't bring to the table. And if they focus on them, I think they can come back.
I don't know if it'll make a difference to you, but Ronan O'Neill told us last night on GA Late Night that a group of the 20s have gone in to the camp and they brought a bit of energy. That there's talk that Canavan's going to be definitely coming off the bench and we will see him in championship action. Rory. So I don't know if that changes anything for you.
It doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't. I can't wait to see him. I must say I can't wait to see him. But he probably hasn't been with that group at all yet, only for the last couple of weeks.
Kyle Coney 4 months ago was talking about Rory Canavan beforehand. To just give Kyle his credit. He did a piece of us off the ball and he said that Rory should be in that main championship panel.
Right, okay.
So I have a feeling that Tyrone people are expecting Rory to get a run.
But it's not like Tyrone are lacking quality. It's not like they need an influx of these 20s.
They're lacking a bit of life or something, though. I don't know what it is. There's that staleness that's kind of
gone flatness all season with them. Yeah.
And sometimes it mightn't take much. Like it mightn't take much to get them all going.
The fact that the 20s are coming in off a win as well does lift everyone.
Yeah,
like it is a big having an All-Ireland winning team come into you. It is a big lift. So I think maybe them being around the place might be a catalyst rather than the players coming in and making a big difference. I think that's a very big ask.
Are you sticking with?
I'm sticking.
I'm gonna go with Armagh as well. I just think that athletic grounds.
Yeah,
if Tyrone do get through this, if Tyrone get that win and they get their season back on the road, it'd be very hard to back against them again in the championship because I think they only need something small to go with them. We're leaving Mayo Monaghan, Tailteann Cup quarterfinals, New York, travelling over, they're playing Offaly and Tullamore. Offaly.
Yeah.
James Offaly.
On the corner. Good performance against Wicklow. With Tip being beat, I think Cavan are the favourites for this, as we said.
Okay, so
Fermanagh
Cavan?
Cavan.
Okay. So Fermanagh got by Longford by a goal, so we're going back in Cavan. I'm back in Cavan too there.
So it's Cavan and Offaly we reckon so are the strongest too.
Westmeath, possibly.
I think Westmeath lads are primed to win something like this. I think they have the players, the caliber players. That they may not be motoring properly now, but Westmeath will have no fear in Croke Park, and that's one of the big things that comes into play here. If Westmeath get by Carlow, so that game is in Carlow. Carlow had their big win against Tip. They're going to be buzzing this week. That's the momentum of these games as well. They're getting game after game, and then Leitrim Sligo. I'm going to get in there first.
Well, who are you going for?
I don't know. I'm struggling. It's going to be very, very tight. I'm going to say Leitrim this week. I'm going to go with Leitrim. You're going to curse them, James. You're going to curse Leitrim. Sligo got by London after extra time. Leitrim obviously got by London. London had a late comeback. Leitrim were 8 points up in London. Came back late on, but Leitrim held on.
I think there's something good happening in Leitrim as well. Do you know, like Derry, Offaly, Leitrim. There seems to be something happening in these counties. There's momentum. There's feel good. Like Carrick and Shannon will be absolutely hopping.
It will.
So
it was cool.
I'm going to curse them.
You're going to go, okay, you don't have to say we're cursing them because there have been some teams that have won when we've gone Leitrim or three teams, but there have been some, some people getting in touch from Offaly, from Kildare who weren't happy when we called all three.
Yeah, no, I think I do think they'll win it. I think that they're going well and they just have a bit of life, bit of momentum.
It was cool on GA Go seeing all the fans streaming onto the pitch after the game when they bet Antrim at the weekend. It clearly meant a lot. Their first championship win on home soil in 3 years. Just when we get to the fantasy football, I'm going to give myself a shout out.
Well, how much you get?
And I'm going to give James O'Donoghue a shout out. I did break the 300. I got 304 points this week. James O'Donoghue, you were actually top of the celebs table. So that's the table of players of intercounty footballers. I'm going to check out what you got here. I got 304 points. Paddy Andrews, you shot up the table as well. My issue is that I only have McCarran, McGeary, and Began in play for next weekend. So I can't expect to get too many points next week. Paddy, I'm just going to check what you got. James, do you remember what you got at the weekend? I got 304 points. I switched Sean O'Shea. For David Clifford at the last minute. So I made Shawnee my captain.
I brought in Tom Sullivan from Kerry, got me 34 points. And I got in Costello. I had Costello captain from the start. So he got me
52. Yeah, quality showing. You're actually 15th in the world. So you're doing pretty well. And Paddy Andrews, let me just see where you're at. Paddy's Wolves. You got 207 points this week. Sean O'Shea, your captain once more. Rock and Walsh delivered for you, but you do have a couple of players in the mix. Surprise, surprise. Paddy was in Paris. He didn't get a chance to sub out David Clifford this week. So that's how we got on.
You must have just missed that news, I think.
You must have just missed it. And just to give a shout out to the Football Pod League lads who are winning it, it is BK O'Donnell from Aaron Moore, 765 points overall. You got 292 last week. Damien Butler, his team is named the Spider Babies from St. Mary's Kiltohert. Definitely Kiltohert. And Niall Hassan from Dungannon Thomas Clark's is always in the mix. Puke Football is the name of his team. They're in our top 3. And in the junior table, Fionn Mahoney with 180 points is No Clue 11. He's from the club Danesford. He got 620 points. So shout out to Fionn. His captain this week was Dean Rock, who got on 36 points. So that is it, lads, for episode 19 of the Football Pod. Another one in the books. Paddy Andrews, I feel like you've aged over the last hour and 15, 20 minutes. I really hope you get some good sleep in this week. James O'Donoghue, I hope your whoop is better on Thursday, that you get your recovery in and that you're in good shape for Castlebar. I'm really excited for it. I can't wait to see you there. We're all really excited to see everyone there on Thursday night. So if you haven't got a ticket yet and you're going to be around Castlebar, do get one. And if you have got a ticket, fair play to you. We'll see you there. Pints on Paddy. Thanks, lads.
Looking forward to it, lads.